I'm happy to announce that I'm going to be doing my very first Legion Q&A on my Twitch channel this Saturday, August 27th at 10:30 CST. I will be answering your questions live on Discord, so be sure to download Discord by clicking the link in the description and then join my channel, and I'll see you guys there.
Sailing through, but so far. And I know.
Okay, so pretty much every single day, whenever I make a YouTube video over all these different classes and class overviews and class comparisons that I have, a lot of people ask about Arcane Mage and Frost Mage because those two classes, as well as Fire Mage, are really like my bread and butter. They're what I've played for over 10 years now. They've what I've made on YouTube videos over for the past few years, and it's kind of something that I've been specialized in for all of the new subscribers who haven't seen my videos this far, right? So today, we're going to be talking about the Arcane Mage and the Frost Mage and bringing up the comparisons, the pros and cons of each class and how they differ, because I feel like the difference is like this small, but I think that there is pros and cons for each one, and it's important to at least know them in case you're kind of in between the two specs, or maybe you're just wanting to learn more about one or both of the specs in general. So that's what we're going to be doing today, and I think that Arcane Mage is probably looked at and viewed throughout the community as the weakest of the bunch. I feel like Fire Mage is probably at the top right now, and then Frost and Arcane are like, hand in hand, and some people just don't really know exactly what the differences are. So I thought that we could talk about it today, right? I think that Arcane has the possibility to do a lot of bursts, like with the artifact ability, which does a lot of damage. It does an amount of damage equal to your maximum mana, not your current mana, which is pretty big. And then you can get your arcane charges and build them up and do a large amount of damage. If you have 4 arcane charges, your damage scales off of each arcane charge you have, but also increases mana cost. So if I have 1 arcane charge, my damage is going to go up by 69%. And then if you have 4, then you will obviously have you'll have a huge amount of damage increased based off of like how many charges you have, and that's kind of like the mini game of Arcane, right? So if I were to do damage, what it's going to look like is I'm going to hit Mark of a Luneth and then charged up to get 4 stacks and then get 3 Arcane Blasts off, and then I will Arcane Barrage at the end of it, and then after that it's really just kind of the consistent damage of using your Arcane Missiles and whatnot. So if I do that combo, then it's going to take about, I don't know, it's going to take like casting twice. So casting that Arcane Blast, hard Arcane Blast, and then also casting the Mark of a Luneth. So that's about 4 seconds of casting, give or take. And then you have the Presence of Mind 2 instant cast. So it's going to take you about 4 to 5 seconds to get off that combo. And I think that the volatility of that combo is really, or the inconsistency of that combo is really brought up by obviously just having to cast a long amount of time, and then also your arcane power, it's a 1.5 minute cooldown, but the problem is that it's a magic buff. So like against high rated players, you're really going to get dispelled a lot, and that's a big issue when it comes to playing an arena and like playing Arcane in general, because of the inconsistency. Like there's so many counters, like there's so many interrupts in the game right now, and there's so many like dispels and purges and all that. So the problem is really like in those two things, is that Arcane Mage seems to have a little bit too much inconsistency in terms of its damage, and there's really like not much build up you can do, because the problem is that when you build up to 4 arcane charges, but you're punished for doing so. Like your gameplay is actually punished because it costs so much mana to use those arcane blasts, and it's actually way harder to get arcane missile charges in the game now. So that's why I feel like Arcane struggles in terms of doing consistent damage, but and when it gets that burst window and like things line up and you can actually cast, like you definitely kill someone. You definitely have the opportunity to kill someone, which is really, really cool. So there is obviously a spammable slow, which is very similar to Frost Mage, because Frost Mage has a lot of slows. This ability is usually always up, and it also increases your damage by 15% with the PvP talent, which is really cool. The Torment of the Weak PvP talent, or Torment the Weak, I guess it's only called now, not of. But yeah, this is something that's similar to Frost Mage's because of the amount of slows that it has, so you're really not losing a whole lot there, and you also have Frost Nova, which is cool. But I think that the main pro you're going to be getting whenever playing Arcane over Frost is actually the mobility, due to the new ability called Displacement. So Displacement is an ability that allows you to teleport back to the blink that you actually, so if you blink forward, you can actually teleport back to where you blinked from, and it will also give you another blink charge. And I think that this is very strong because of the Shimmer talent, which is a new ability It kind of works like their Glyph of Rapid Displacement. So you get 2 charges of Shimmer, and you can also Shimmer while casting and still continue that cast, which is really important for getting polymorphs off in Arena. So that's something that to keep aware of. But I think that since you don't have Displacement as a Frost Mage, you're going to be losing out on 2 blinks every 30 seconds. So like 2 blinks as in like the Displacement going back counts as a blink, and then also that extra charge that you get whenever you use Displacement. So obviously if I use Shimmer, I have 1 charge of Shimmer left, so I'm going to use it again, and then I can actually displace back, and then I can Shimmer again. So that's 4 blinks immediately, and then since it's only a 15-second recharge, I can actually have another blink. And this is something that I've covered in a previous video, but I just wanted to show the example again, because you can actually get up to 5 shimmers or 5 blinks in a couple seconds, which is pretty cool. So the mobility is really, really strong on Arcane Mages, and especially since you can cast while doing it, it helps you get those casts off. It helps you get those polymorphs off, which is really cool. The last but not least, I want to talk about the extra defensive you get as Arcane, which helps you survive. Most of the time when you're playing with Shimmer, you don't have Cold Snap, which means you don't have those 2 Ice Block charges, so you lack in a little bit of defensives due to that. And I think that's something that makes up for that is actually greater invisibility, which is an ability that only Arcane Mages have, and it's a 1.25 minute cooldown with the PvP talent, the Master of Escape PvP talent. So it's, you know, about a 90-second or less than 90-second cooldown, and it actually gives you a potential vanish, so it allows you to go into invisibility, but the invisibility is a little inconsistent because damage just breaks it, and if damage breaks it, then you get a 60% shield wall for 3 seconds after reappearing, which is really cool, and Frost Mages don't have that. So one more time, guys, what we're going to do is actually just show you the burst real quick. So as you can see, Mark of Alunith charged up, and then we have all those offensive cooldowns going. And then when that Alunith actually drops and we do a pretty high amount of damage, it's just that, you know, the rest of Shaman is spamming heals in him and I'm not interrupting them, and there's no like teammate arena partner to help me kill them as well. But I think that that burst window right there is pretty worthwhile. So let's go ahead and take a look at Frost. Now, Frost has a very much different playstyle than it did in previous expansions. In previous expansions, what you would do is you would put down a deep freeze on a target. You would either like look to do damage whenever that deep freeze happens, or in Warlords of Draenor specifically, since they nerfed deep freeze, you would pretty much blink into a healer, you would deep freeze them, you would sheep them off of that deep freeze, and then you would turn to the kill target and start casting Frostbolt or Ice Novas or whatever, and that was how you did your damage. But most of your damage was instant because your Fingers of Frost, Ice Lances, and stuff actually did something. However, in Legion, you really, you know, you have to play a spec, or you're forced to play a spec that actually requires you to Frostbolt, and when you play the spec that requires you to Frostbolt, you also lose a lot of Ice Lance damage because of this talent right here, the Deep Shatter talent, which gives your Frostbolt 200% additional damage to frozen targets. However, it like makes it so your Fingers of Frost is not generated from Frostbolt, Frozen Orb, Blizzard, Freeze, Water Bolt, and Water Jet. So basically all of your abilities, right, except for Ebb and Bolt, which is your artifact ability, and you can look that up if you'd like. Now, since you play this spec, what you're basically going to do for damage is you're going to Frostbolt, Shimmer forward, and Frost Nova, so you can get those like icicles, and those like obviously you can get those big Frostbolt damage. But you also get these really strong icicles to build up, and once you build up 5 of them, what you're gonna do is getting 5. Okay, what you're gonna do is you're going to actually use your Glacial Spike and Ice Nova together, and it's going to do a relatively large crit. That one didn't crit, but whatever, you know, it does a lot of damage. I've seen it just got nerfed recently. It used to one-shot people, but now it does anywhere between 600 to 900k crits, and honestly, it's a really big nuke. It's just a little bit hard to get off, and I think that in comparison to Arcane, Frost has to cast a lot due to this spec. I think that this spec, I don't really foresee this spec being the primary Frost Mage spec for the rest of the game. I think Frost Mage players are not going to be happy with this, and I think that Blizzard is going to end up changing it. However, for right now, Frost Mages have to cast a lot. They have to cast a lot of Frostbolts and combo them with their Frost Novas and Ice Novas in order to get that big Glacial Spike damage and really just, like, you know, kill someone right then and there. So what is the pro of playing Frost Mage? And I think that much like Arcane Mage, we have a lot of slows, but we also have a lot more slows available to us. So with Arcane Mage, you have to constantly reapply the slow ability, whereas Frost Mage, you have like Frost Novas, you have Cone of Cold, you've got Flurry, which, I mean, there's like so many things that like actually slow a target a lot better too, since this is 70% for 5 seconds. Arcane Mage doesn't have any 70% slows, and I think that Arcane Mage or Frost Mage rather actually allows you to do a lot more CC because of the consistency of the slows. So for example, there's a lot of situations in Arena where like there's a healer in front of me, and I'll like Shimmer, Cone of Cold, and like Arcane Turret into a polymorph, and I actually get off the polymorph before they can do anything about it. And I think that Frost Mage allows for a pretty consistent way to get more CC off, especially when it comes to like just having more Frost Novas, or like having Cone of Cold to get away from melee, or having your Ice Form to get out of stuns, which is a big pro. And that's something that I want to talk about real quick, because Ice Form is an ability that most people take. It increases your Frostbolt damage, which gives you more of that Frostbolt damage that I was talking about, but also grants you immunity to stuns, and you can use it while stunned. Which is a really big deal because you can't blink out of, or you can't shimmer out of stuns whenever you take that talent. That's like the trade-off, is that when you have a regular blink, you can blink out of stuns, but when you have shimmer, you cannot blink out of stuns, and that's like the trade-off of the ability. So regardless, guys, I think that this class overall has more opportunities for CC, but Arcane Mage overall has better mobility and a little bit better survivability in the game right now for what I've currently seen. But it's a really different playstyle, but I also think that there are a lot of similarities, and I kind of just wanted to draw the parallels. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to jump into some arenas and show you a comparison of here's what Arcane Mage looks like in Arena, and then here's what Frost Mage looks like in Arena, and I want you to draw your own opinions from watching those arenas. So let's get into it.
It cannot last, but at last I can finally breathe. And I know it cannot last, but at last I can finally see.
When you want to get off the darkest ground, but gravity pulls you straight down. Earth from a bird's eye view. You should grow feathers and see this too. When you want to get off the darkest ground, but gravity but gravity pulls you straight down. Earth from a bird's eye view. You should grow feathers and see this too. When you want to get off the darkest ground, but gravity pulls you straight down. When you want to get off the darkest ground, I close my eyes, I can almost see it.
Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Obviously, I want to hear your opinion. Which one do you think is better? Leave it down in the comments below. And be sure to give a big thumbs up on this video if you haven't already, because that will allow me to know that you want me to keep this series going and keep comparing different classes. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have not already in order to see my videos whenever they come out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cartoons out.